Hello everyone and welcome back to the sessions on financial reporting. Friends, in this class of financial reporting, we are continuing with the topic share-based payment. This is the second lecture on share-based payment. Friends, if you can recollect, in the previous class, we have learned share-based payment to external parties excluding employees. In this class, we are going to focus on share-based payments to employees. Now, within share-based payment to employees, we have observed three different categories. If you can recollect the chart that you have made in the previous class, share-based payment to employees can be classified into three different categories. Number one, equity settled share-based payment. Number two, cash settled share-based payment. Number three, equity settled share-based payment along with cash alternative. So friends, when we are going to deal with these three categories, obviously we will be dealing with one at a time. In this class, I am going to completely focus on equity settled share-based payment. So first of all, it is a share-based payment to employees, and within that category of employees, it is equity settled share-based payment. If you can follow up that chart again, what you have learnt in the previous class, we have seen one more thing. Within equity settled share-based payment to employees, you have two different categories. One, where there are some vesting conditions, another where there are no vesting conditions. So we are going to again focus on the first category in this class, that is where there are vesting conditions. Within vesting conditions, there can be two possibilities. One is the vesting conditions are service conditions, and another one is the vesting conditions are performance conditions. So we will again deal with one thing at a time. We will first start with the vesting conditions, which are service conditions. But friends, let us first understand what are these vesting conditions. See, assume that I am employer and you are employee. I am offering you a benefit in the form of share-based payment. If I am offering you a benefit in the form of share-based payment, I must have certain conditions laid down. Suppose I have no conditions laid down, simply I am giving you that as a benefit, maybe based on your past performance, then we put this situation into the second category where there are no vesting conditions. But right now we are focusing on that category where vesting conditions exist. So the first question is, what are these vesting conditions? What is the meaning of this vesting conditions? Understand this point very well. Conditions that the employees should fulfill before they get the benefit of share-based payment. So generally what happens, I might have, as an employer, I might have an objective that my workforce should remain with me. So I have offered to all my employees that I will give you, each one of you, 100 shares of my company without any consideration, provided you work with me for at least 5 years. That means only after 5 years I will be giving you this benefit. I have declared the benefit today, then technically that date today will be called as grant date, because today I am offering this as a grant. Now the date on which the employees have fulfilled the condition and they are eligible for that share-based payment is known as vesting date. So grant date is the date on which this employee share-based payment was offered, and this was offered along with some condition. What was the condition? Condition was to remain in employment for at least 5 years. Only after fulfillment of 5 years of employment, this benefit will be granted. In that case, the employee who leave the job, who leave the company before the vesting period of 5 years will not be eligible for this benefit. So only the employees who will be benefited are those employees who will be continuing with the company for at least next 5 years. So once the 5-year period is over, the employees who are continuing will be eligible for this benefit, and the date on which the condition of employment of 5 years is over, we say that vesting condition has been achieved. So friends, if you could see what was the nature of the vesting condition I have given in this example. The nature of vesting condition that I have given in this example was not any kind of performance criteria from employees. I did not ask my employees to achieve so much of turnover for me, or achieve so much of profit for me, or achieve any cost reduction target, or achieve any research target. Nothing. I have simply asked them to be with me in this employment for next 5 years. In that case, when only the service offered by employee is considered, we call this as a service condition. That means we have two types of vesting conditions: service conditions and performance conditions. Sometimes you may have a situation where both of these are clubbed, but yes, you can handle that situation anyway later on. Right now we are focusing on service conditions. So friends, I am sure you have understood one thing, that the employee share based payment, which will be equity settled share based payment, which is offered with some vesting condition, and the vesting condition that we are considering is purely a service condition. So how to account for this is the question mark, correct? So let us discuss that as well. Now, if you can recall the earlier class, when the entity is providing the benefit of share based payment to external parties other than employees, what happens? That benefit will be given to other parties only because the company, the entity, has purchased some goods or services or assets from another entity. So if you have purchased some goods, services or assets from another entity, and you are making the settlement through the shares of your company, then it is share based payment to external parties other than employees. What did we learn over there? The transaction price will always be taken at fair value of the goods or services received. That means we will not consider the fair value of the shares that we are issuing, we will consider the fair value of the goods and services that we have received. Only when the fair value of such goods and services is not known, then we will consider the fair value of shares issued. In the last class itself, in the theory concepts, we have learned one more thing, that is, when you are dealing with employees, you may always take an assumption that it will be difficult for assessing the monetary value of the benefit obtained from employee, or you can say the fair value or market value of the employee services. The services that are offered by the employee, you may not always be able to find out what is the market value of that, and therefore when you are dealing with employees, you are not going to consider the fair value of the services that they are offering, because that service is not generally available in the market. Those are my employees and they are offering that services to me. It is an exclusive arrangement, and therefore there cannot be a market value established for that service. As a result, in case of employees, what you just need to do is, in case of employees, you have to consider the transaction price as the fair value of the shares offered to the employee. Now, the fair value of the shares will keep on changing every day. So the question is, which day's fair value of those shares should we consider? The answer is very simple. The date on which this offer was made, which we are calling as grant date, whatever be the fair value of the shares prevailing at the grant date, throughout the share based payment to this employee in this situation, you will consider only that value. So it is an obvious thing that when the benefit was offered, suppose the market value of shares of my company that day was rupees 50, later on the price of the share increases to 80, that benefit where the price is rising from 50 to 80 directly that benefit will be coming in the hands of the employee by the passage of time. The date on which the employer is offering the benefit to the employee, that date is the grant date. So what is the monetary value of the benefit offered? It will be based on the fair value of the shares prevailing at the grant date. So friends, let me take a proper comprehensive example for you to understand the calculation and accounting involved. Let us consider an example where I am an employer company. Assume that I have 600 employees. So I have 600 employees. I have offered each of these 600 employees 100 shares. So I am offering 100 shares to each of my 600 employees, and then I have put a condition that these employees should be in service for at least 3 years. That means the vesting period has been kept as 3 years. That means the employees who want to take benefit of this should remain in employment for next 3 years. So the condition, the vesting condition placed to my employees is simply a service condition, and the vesting period is 3 years. So friends, if you can understand what will be the transaction price, question number 1. Answer to that question, what will be the transaction price? It will be based on the fair value of the shares prevailing at the grant date. Now assume that the fair value of shares that I am offering to my employee, the fair value at the grant date was rupees 36 per share. If the fair value was rupees 36 per share, how would you find the overall transaction price? So you will take 600 employees multiplied by 100 shares per employee and multiplied by rupees 36. That will give you the overall share based payment value, and this value was based on the fair value of the shares prevailing on the date when this benefit was offered. That means the fair value at the grant date. So once you compute this total lump sum value of benefit, this benefit you are spreading over 3 years, right? So 1/3 of that benefit each year you should recognize. So each year there will be an amount of employee benefit expense recognized. Against that you would create a share based payment reserve. That means you will pass an accounting entry, employee benefit expenses debit to share based payment reserve. This share based payment reserve will go on accumulating for these 3 years time, and then the settlement will take place. However, the employee benefit expense that you are recognizing each year will be recognized as expense and will be transferred to P&L each year. So friends, what we are trying to say is the benefit that you are giving to the employees is an overall benefit to be spread over a period of 3 years in terms of expense recognition by the company. So the total value of that share based payment will be spread over 3 years, obviously on a straight line basis. So 1/3 of that benefit will be recognized at each year as the employee benefit expense. So friends, the same example that I have just talked about, I am putting that on the screen. You carefully note down that entire example along with the answer writing part of it. So I am drafting this whole example in the form of a question and answer. So please take note of that carefully, and then we add some more situations and conditions and then step into the bigger questions. Let us first write down this example which we are numbering as example 1. N Limited grants 100 shares of rupees 10 each to each of its 600 employees without any consideration, but conditional on their continuing in service for 3 years. Fair value of each share on the grant date was rupees 36. The promised quantity of shares were issued to all the employees on completion of the vesting period of 3 years. The market price on such date was rupees 56 per share. Past journal entries with working notes. Now friends, what is something important that you need to consider over here? You have been given the vesting period as 3 years, and the condition given over here is just to complete the 3 years of employment. So this is purely a service condition, not any performance condition. So what you will do is you will focus on this value, that is the fair value of the share at the grant date. So what will be the total transaction price? If you can see, you are offering 100 shares to each of 600 employees. So 100 shares into 600 employees will make it 60,000 shares in total, and that will be multiplied to rupees 36. 60,000 shares multiplied by rupees 36, whatever value you get, that will be the transaction price, and that must be recognized over a 3-year period. So each year 1/3 of this amount will be transferred to share based payment reserve against recognition of expense towards employee benefit expense. And then when the settlement takes place, the market price of the share is rupees 56 per share. You are just not going to touch this value. You have nothing to do with this, because what benefit you have offered at the grant date was worth rupees 36 per share multiplied by 60,000 shares. So friends, let us look into how to present this answer, but I am giving you a couple of minutes to note down this example first of all. Alright friends, you would have finished writing this example. Let us now write up the solution part of it. So employee benefit expense for each year, as I have explained, there are 600 employees and each one of the employee is offered 100 shares, and the value that you need to consider is rupees 36 per share. 600 employees into 100 shares into rupees 36 per share, this much will be the total value of the benefit, right? And there will be 3 years for vesting period, so only the 1/3 of that will be recognized each year. So that works out to 7,20,000 every year. Notice one thing now, that this calculation what we have made is a common calculation for each of the 3 years, because there are no termination during this 3 years of vesting period and all the employees are finally found eligible to take the benefit. So each year if you are creating a reserve of 7,20,000, by end of the 3 years time, the total accumulation will obviously match with this total value, because 1/3 of the total value you have recognized each year. Now recognition of employee benefit expense at each year end will be by passing this journal entry employee benefit expenses debit 7,20,000 to share based payment reserve 7,20,000. Now passing similar entry at end of each year will make the total accumulation to 21,60,000, correct, over a 3-year period, and then we finally arrive at the settlement date, which we can also call as the vesting date, which is by end of 3rd year. So as I mentioned, 7,20,000 multiplied by 3, which will be 21,60,000, will be the total value accumulated in this share based payment reserve, one side. Secondly, every year this employee benefit expense that you are recognizing, being an expense, will be transferred to P&L each year, and the total accumulated value in share based payment reserve, that will be of course matching with this total, right? Before you applied this 1/3 ratio, 600 employees into 100 shares into 36 will give you 21,60,000. So by that amount, share based payment reserve is debited 21,60,000, and the corresponding credit will be given to equity share capital. So you are issuing in total 60,000 shares, that is 600 employees are given 100 shares each, 60,000 shares, but the amount that you take to the credit of equity share capital has to be at the face value, that will be 60,000 multiplied by 10 only, that is 6 lakhs. The balance amount will be transferred to securities premium. So if you can see, this share based payment reserve was created based on the value of rupees 36 per share, where face value is rupees 10 per share. So obviously rupees 26 will be considered as the securities premium per share, which works out to 15,60,000 in totality. So friends, so note down this whole thing, and that will be end of this example. All right friends, so that was the solution for that example which you have already written down. Now in this example we have seen that in total where there were 600 employees, all the employees continued and all were finally eligible for that share based payment. But in certain situations it may not happen like that. Maybe certain employees might leave the job, or while creating the provision or creating the reserve towards share based payment, the entity itself might have expectation that maybe all employees may not be eligible to get the benefit, because maybe not all will continue for those 3 years time. In such cases, at end of each year, the entity should recognize the share based payment reserve only to such an extent that it believes what will be the expected vesting value. So that is one typical requirement of Ind AS 102, that the vesting value whatever the entity expects that would finally come up should be the value for which you create the share based payment reserve. For example, out of 600 employees, if you believe that 50 employees will not be there after 3 years and the benefit will be given only to 550 employees, then you better make a provision for 550 employees only. However, if there are not 550 but 560 employees at the end, then we can alter the amount of provision or alter the amount of that reserve by making a small remeasurement, but that is all fine. What I am asking you to consider is, if all employees are not expected to continue, then based on the expectation of the vesting value that you will actually provide, you create share based payment reserve. So friends, the second example which we are going to take up is pinpointing this fact. So what I will do is I will display that example over here, you note it down. I will then discuss how exactly you should tackle that situation, and then you will write down the solution as well. So let us first write down this second example. Example 2, ABC Limited granted to its employees share options with a fair value of INR 5 lakhs on April 1, 2016 if they remain in organization up to 31st March 2019. So we can see one thing, that the grant date is April 1, 2016 and the condition is to continue the employment till 31st March 2019. So we can conclude that the vesting period will be 3 years. On 31st March 2017, that is the first year end, ABC Limited expects only 91% of the employees to remain in the employment. On 31st March 2018, the company expects only 89% of the employees to remain in the employment. However, only 82% of the employees remained in the organization at the end of March 2019 and all of them exercised their options. Show the calculations of employee benefit expenses to be recognized in each year. So friends, do one thing. First of all, note down this example and then we talk about it. Alright friends, you would have finished writing this example. Now before I discuss this example with you, let me bring into your notice one important requirement of Ind AS 102. Let us go to that requirement. We have written notes about this in the previous class. If there are certain conditions, either service related or performance related, which needs to be completed in order to be eligible for such share based payments, then recognition will be based on best estimate of expected vesting value of such share based payment. So as I mentioned that because there are some conditions to be fulfilled and the entity believes that not all employees will be able to fulfill that condition, whatever be the best estimate of the expected vesting value, by that amount you will create the reserve for share based payment. Now this paragraph you have already written in the previous class, you need not write this, neither it is part of your solution, but this concept is to be applied while handling an example like this. Let us come back to the example and now notice one thing, that at end of the first year the company is expecting that only 91% of employees will remain in employment till the vesting date arrives, and this estimate changes to 89% by end of the next year, which further changes to just 82% by the vesting date arrival. Finally, what happens when these percentages are changing, and how does the company recognize the employee benefit expense each year when these percentages are changing, and how each year the remeasurement would take place because of the change in percentage? Let us try to understand even that. Now in this regard, try to understand one thing. When the company arrives at the end of first year, it has an estimate of only 91% employees continuing. So the total vesting value with 100% employees was rupees 5 lakhs. Now the company would consider only 91% of 5 lakhs because the provision or the reserve has to be made based on the expected vesting value. So expected vesting value by end of first year is not going to remain 5 lakhs, it will be 91% of 5 lakhs. So you will consider rupees 5 lakhs into 91% and then you will take only 1/3 of that because 1 year has passed out of 3 years of vesting period. However, by the time you come to the second year end, the estimate gets revised to 89%. So now what has to be done? You will not make individual calculation for second year. You will rather make a cumulative calculation for 2-year period, and that would be rupees 5 lakh into 89%, the revised estimate. But now the ratio that you apply will be 2/3 because 2 years have passed out of 3. So based on the revised estimates by end of second year, how much should be the proportionate vesting value that you have to work out? That will be a cumulative value for 2 years, and the amount that you have recognized in the first year shall be subtracted, and the incremental amount to be recognized in the second year will be obtained. And similarly the calculation will be done for the third year as well. So what I am going to do is I am going to show the solution on the screen and first understand it very well and then you can note it down. In the solution you would write calculation of employee benefit expense for the year, and you will first make the calculation for year 1. So as I have already explained you, your approach will be to first arrive at the cumulative expense up to the date. That will be 5 lakh into 91% into 1/3. That comes to 1,51,667. This amount is the cumulative expense by end of first year. From this you subtract the expense that you have recognized earlier. Being the first year, the amount recognized earlier will be nil, and so 1,51,667 will be fully recognized in the first year itself. So friends, do one thing, write up this working and then I'll show you the calculation for year 2 and year 3 as well. All right, friends, you would have finished writing this whole thing. Let us move ahead and make up the calculation for the next 2 years. So at end of year 2, cumulative expenses up to the date, same approach. So you will take 5 lakh into 89%. Mind it, this percentage which was 91% at end of year 1, that has got revised to 89% by end of year 2. So by end of year 2, the company expects that the vesting value will be only 89% of 5 lakhs. And now because 2 years have passed out of 3 years, the total cumulative value for 2 years combined will be 2,96,667, of which already recognized amount was 1,51,667. So the incremental amount to be recognized as employee benefit expense for the second year will be 1,45,000. Exactly same way, when you arrive at third year end, you will now take 5 lakh into 82%, and this is the third and last year. So the total amount of reserve that you need to create will be fully 5 lakh into 82%, which works out to 4,10,000. And the total amount of cumulative expense by second year end, which was 2,96,667, when subtracted from 4,10,000, you will get to know what will be the amount recognized for the third year. So employee benefit expenses for the third year will be 1,13,333. So friends, note down this whole thing, and that will be end of this example solution. And once you are done with this, we start with the full-fledged questions ahead. Let us take up question number 5. Let us read this question. Z Limited grants 100 shares of rupees 10 each to each of its 600 employees without any consideration, but conditional on their continuing in service for 3 years. Fair value of each share on the grant date was rupees 60. During year 1, 18 employees left. The entity makes an estimate that further 42 employees will leave the job before expiry of vesting period. During year 2, further 14 employees left. The entity makes an estimate that further 16 employees will leave the job before expiry of vesting period. During year 3, further 12 employees left. The promised quantity of shares were issued to all the continuing employees on completion of their vesting period of 3 years. The market price on such date was rupees 92 per share. Pass journal entries with working notes. Now friends, in order to solve this question, few things that you should consider. First of all, these share options have been given without any consideration. That means the employees need not pay anything. The only thing what they need to do is to be in service for a continued period of 3 years. So here there is no question of exercising the option, because by default someone who has fulfilled this condition would definitely go ahead and claim their rights. As a result, these shares will be eligible for all those who have continued till end of 3 years. So we can see one thing, at each year end certain number of employees have left and certain number of employees are expected to leave. So as per the requirement of Ind AS 102, the provision or the recognition of the share based payment reserve will be only to the extent the number of employees are expected to continue. In other words, like in this case, in year 1, what will be done? Out of 600 employees, 18 have left already and further 42 are expected to leave. So 600 minus 18 minus 42, whatever be the balance number of employees, only for those employees the reserve will be created for share based payment. Same thing will be done with respect to year 2 and year 3. Now how those amounts will be computed, I will explain you while solving this question. So let us look into one thing. What is the fair value of the share on the grant date? That is rupees 60. And when the shares were finally handed over to the employees, the fair value or the market value of the share is rupees 92. Now which value should we consider? Obviously the fair value which is at the grant date. It should be noted that the fair value prevailing at the grant date is always going to be relevant. Now understand one thing, it is rupees 60 in this case. The moment the shares are vested to the employees, automatically what will happen, the benefit that the employees will get will be rupees 92 in their hand, correct? Because each share at the date when the shares will be handed over to employees, each share is worth rupees 92. So the company need not make provision for that 92. What is to be considered as per the requirement of Ind AS 102, the fair value of the share prevailing at the grant date is to be considered, because this is the value that the company has offered to its employee at the grant date. The change between these two values, that is when the value increases from rupees 60 to rupees 92, that is because of the increase in the market price after the grant of option was made. Therefore, once again I am telling you, don't ever consider this price, because you will be giving the benefit based on the value of the share prevailing at the grant date necessarily. So friends, let us do one thing. Let us now look into how to present the calculations and the accounting entries for each of the years as well as at the time of settlement. In your solution, what you would first present is the calculation of cumulative value of employee benefit expenses by end of the first year, and let me show you how to make that calculation. Cumulative expenses up to the date means up to the end of year 1. How would you do that? It will be, first of all, 600 total number of employees, Out of that, 18 employees have already left, so no chance of giving that benefit to those, and the company is expecting that further 42 employees will leave. So 600 minus 18 minus 42, whatever be the number of employees written within the brackets, only for those employees on expectation basis the company will create a provision. Now these will be the number of employees multiplied by the number of shares for each employee, that is 100 shares, and multiplied by the fair value of the option at the grant date. Here the fair value of share and fair value of option both will be necessarily same because the shares have been issued for no consideration. Now important thing is the vesting period is 3 years, and by end of first year 1 year has passed. So out of the total amount of provision required, only 1/3 of the provision will be made by end of third year. As a result, the amount to be created as a reserve on cumulative basis will be 10,80,000 by end of first year. Now this being a cumulative balance up to the end of first year, you would subtract any amount of expense that you have recognized earlier. Now expense recognized earlier in this regard was 0, correct? Because this is the first year. As a result, the employee benefit expense that you have to recognize for the year, that is for the first year, will be 10,80,000. Now time for you to pass the journal entry, and for that what you would do is you will debit employee benefit expenses by exactly same amount, that is 10,80,000, and the corresponding amount will be transferred to share based payment reserve, and that is same amount 10,80,000. So this journal entry representing the expense recognition against share based payment reserve. So what you are trying to convey is you have created a share based payment reserve against your expense recognition. One side you are showing an expense, this expense will be transferred to P&L, and this reserve will be simultaneously created. Now what happens to this reserve, we will look into that once we have reached the settlement date, and once you pass the entry for settlement, this will go off. So friends, once again let me explain this calculation. 600 employees minus 18 that already left minus 42 who are further expected to leave, this gives you the net number of employees for which on expectation basis the company will create the share based payment reserve, multiplied by 100. That 100 represents the number of shares for each employee, and what is there within brackets is the expected number of employee who will take this benefit. This 60 is the fair value of the option at the grant date, and when you multiply this whole thing, it will give you the total amount of the share based payment, whereas out of 3 years of vesting period only 1 year has passed. You will create only 1/3 of that total as a reserve on this date, and this amount represents the cumulative amount by end of first year minus the amount that you have recognized earlier, which in this case is 0. So the employee benefit expenses and the corresponding share based payment reserve will be 10,80,000. So friends, carefully note down all these calculations and this accounting entry, and then we shall move ahead. Alright friends, you would have written this whole thing. Let us move ahead and make the calculations and accounting entry for the second year. So at the end of year 2, what changes you will observe? First of all, you will have to make the same calculation, that is cumulative expenses up to the date. You can never make individual calculation for second year directly, because the right way is to assess the overall cumulative balance of the share based payment reserve by second year end, that is cumulative balance necessarily. And for that purpose, what has been observed, in total there were 600 employees, 18 left in the first year itself, that became a history. Actual number of employees leaving in the second year were 14 employees. 18 and 14, these are the actual number of employees left, and now 16 is the estimate of number of employees that would further leave. So both of these 18 and 14 represents the actual number of employees left. Now see what has happened. After first year end, your estimate that 42 employees will leave, that estimate stands no more, because the actual figure over here has replaced the estimate. However, for the third year, you still have to depend on the estimate, because there is no actual information available. So again, when you reach the end of third year, this number will definitely change because of the actual number of employees leaving. Fine. So what we find within brackets is the eligible number of employees multiplied by 100 multiplied by 60. This 60 is the same value per share which was the fair value of the share or the fair value of the option at the grant date. We have now considered 2/3, because out of 3 years of vesting period, this is end of year 2, that means 2 years have been passed. So out of the total amount of share based payment reserve, 2/3 should be recognized up to the end of second year, and that works out to 22,08,000. However, the amount of expense that you have already recognized is 10,80,000. So in simple words, what we are trying to say is, by end of second year, the cumulative balance of share based payment reserve should be 22,08,000, whereas you have already recognized and created this much of share based payment reserve. So what is the incremental amount of share based payment reserve that you have to recognize in the second year? That will be the differential of these two, which is 11,28,000. Now once you get this 11,28,000, you can simply pass exactly same type of journal entry that you have passed in the first year. Employee benefit expenses debit to share based payment reserve, and that will be by 11,28,000. So friends, entries will be same, calculations will be different. So please carefully note down this whole thing, and then we shall move ahead. Alright friends, you would have finished writing these calculations and the entry. Let us move ahead and reach the end of third year. So at the end of third year, what you will do is, again you will work out the cumulative expenses up to this date. So calculating this will be again in the same way with one change. The number of employees actually leaving in the third year, now it is known. So from 600 you have subtracted earlier 18 and 14, and you have earlier subtracted 16 employees based on your estimate. That 16, which was the estimate by end of second year, has now been replaced by the actual number of employees left in the third year. And finally 600 minus 18 minus 14 minus 12, whatever we have written within the brackets, are the exact number of employees who will be eligible for this share based payment. This multiplied by 100 shares per employee, and again multiplied by rupees 60, which was the fair value at the grant date. Now out of 3 years of vesting period, all the 3 years have lapsed, conditions have been fulfilled. Therefore the amount of reserve that needs to be created should be the entire amount, and that works out to 33,36,000. How much of this amount you have recognized already in year 1 and year 2 on cumulative basis? That was 22,08,000, and therefore the incremental amount shall be recognized in the third year, that is again 11,28,000, and again you would pass a similar journal entry what you have passed in earlier years. So note down these calculations and the accounting entry, and then we shall move for recognizing the settlement. Alright friends, you would have finished writing these calculations and the entry. Let us now make the calculation of total number of shares issued. So I have just copied the same thing over here, 600 minus 18 minus 14 minus 12. That many employees multiplied by 100 shares to each employee, and that comes to 55,600 shares. So when you are making the settlement, because this time the shares have been issued without any consideration, there will be no cash receipt in the hands of the company. The share based payment reserve that you have created will now be debited by the entire amount, that is 33,36,000, and against it you would create the share capital. Now because you have issued 55,600 shares having face value of rupees 10, the share capital will be credited by 5,56,000, and the balance amount goes to securities premium. Because the original fair value of the share at the grant date was 60 and the face value of the share is 10, you have created reserve by the value of rupees 60 per share, face value being 10. Obviously 50 is to be considered on account of securities premium. So the share based payment reserve that you have created in all the 3 years now gets knocked off against the share capital and the securities premium. So friends, this will be the settlement entry. I would want you to note it down, and that will be end of the solution. Let us take up question number 6. Let us read this question. Z Limited grants 100 share options to each of its 600 employees conditional on they are continuing in service for 3 years. Face value of the share was rupees 10 each. The option exercise price per share was rupees 50. Fair value of the share option on the grant date is rupees 30. During year 1, 20 employees left. The entity makes an estimate that further 5% of remaining employees will leave the job in the next year and 4% of the remaining employees will leave the job in the following year. During year 2, further 20 employees left. The entity makes an estimate that further 5% of remaining employees will leave the job in the next year. During year 3, further 10 employees left. All the continuing employees exercise the option at the end of third year when market price stands at rupees 92. Pass journal entries with working notes. Important thing over here, this time the share grant is not without any consideration. The option given for the employees is to buy the shares at rupees 50. So basically rupees 50 is the option exercise price. By paying rupees 50 they can definitely get the shares, and we have no idea about what was the fair value of the share on that date. However, we are not concerned with that to the extent we are informed of one thing, that the fair value of the option at the grant date is rupees 30. So if the fair value of option is known, it is enough for us. In certain cases ahead, you will find that the fair value of the share at the grant date will be given and this information may not be given. In that case, we have to make a default assumption that whatever be the difference in the option exercise price and the fair value of the share, that difference will be the value of the option at the grant date. However, when the fair value of share option at the grant date is directly given, simply consider that, do not consider anything else. Now, in this case, again we find that some employees have left and the company is expecting certain number of employees further who will leave the job. Now friends, the expected number of employees that would leave the job is given in percentage, and we have to just look into how to make that calculation. We will take care of that when we are dealing with the calculations in the solution. However, one thing that you should notice, that when it is a settlement entry that you will pass, this time there will be some consideration that the company will receive, and the balance of share issue will be recognized against the share based payment reserve. So let us do one thing, let us approach this whole calculation and accounting entries step by step. Let us look into how to present the solution. So in the first year, what you would do is first make the calculation of the share based payment reserve that gets accumulated by end of first year. So let me explain this calculation to you. In total there were 600 employees and 20 have already left in the first year. So eligible number of employees by end of first year will be 600 minus 20, that is 580. However, not all are expected to continue. 5% of the remaining employees will leave in the next year. That means by end of second year, the expected number of employees that would remain will be only 95%, that is 100 minus 5%, 95% of the remaining employees, and the remaining employees is 600 minus 20, that is 580. So by end of second year, the remaining number of employees will be 600 minus 20 into 95%. Then expected that in the following year, further 4% employees will leave. That means finally the leftover number of employees will be 96% of this remaining. So I am sure you have understood this line of calculation. 600 total number of employees, 20 already left in the first year, 600 minus 20, 580 remains by end of first year actually. But we have to make an estimate of how many will leave in second year. In second year, 5% of remaining will leave. So we have taken 95% of remaining. After subtracting that 5%, or we can say after multiplying 95%, what we get is the expected number of employees by end of second year. And then we have made an estimate that in the third year, another 4% employees, that is 4% of remaining employees will leave. So finally, the employees that will be eligible for this on expectation basis will be 96% of these remaining employees which have remained by end of second year. So second year estimated number of employees multiplied by 96% will be total expectancy of the number of employees who will be eligible for the scheme. Now 100 is multiplied for what reason? You know it, because each employee was granted 100 share options, and 30 is the fair value of the option at the grant date. You have already understood why did we multiply 1 by 3, because out of 3 years only 1 year has lapsed. That means 1/3 of the total amount of reserve should be recognized in this year. This is however the cumulative balance up to the date, that means cumulative balance up to the end of first year. From this you subtract whatever amount you have recognized earlier. Obviously nothing has been recognized earlier, so this amount 5,28,960 will be recognized in the first year by passing this entry, that is employee benefit expenses debit to share based payment reserve. I have already explained you the accounting entry. There is no change in the accounting entry. The calculation however in this question was little different. The different accounting entry that we will come across will be the accounting entry at the time of settlement. But before we reach that, first note down this whole calculation and accounting entry properly. Alright friends, you would have finished writing these calculations and the entry. Let us move ahead for year 2 calculations. So in year 2, what you are going to do, you will first find the cumulative expenses up to the date. So that will be 600 employees minus 20 employees that have left already in the first year, and again minus 20 employees that have actually left in the second year. So actual number of employees leaving the job in first and second year taken together, it is 20 and 20, 40 employees. So out of 600, 40 employees already left, and now it is expected that in the next year further 5% of the remaining employees will leave the job. So what will remain will be 95% of the remaining employees. So by final vesting period getting over, that is after 3 years, it is expected that 600 minus 20, whatever remains of that 5% will further leave. So 95% will remain, who will be expected to draw this benefit, and each employee will be given 100 shares multiplied by the fair value of the option at the grant date. And now we have seen that 2 years have passed out of 3 years. So out of the total reserve requirement, 2/3 should be accumulated by end of second year. However, we have already created a reserve of 5,28,960 in the first year. So what is remaining now will have to be recognized as employee benefit expenses for the year, and by that incremental amount the share based payment reserve balance will also increase. So the accounting entry that you will pass will be employee benefit expenses debit by this amount 5,35,040 and to share based payment reserve, and that will be the recognition of employee benefit expenses against share based payment reserve. So friends, just note down all these calculations and accounting entry. There is nothing new in this case. Quickly write it down. Alright friends, you would have finished writing these calculations and entry. Let us now move ahead and make the calculation for the third year. So this is going to be very simple. Out of the total number of employees, that is 600 employees, now we are subtracting 20 employees that have left in the first year, minus 20 employees that have left in the second year, and minus 10 employees that have left in the third year. So 600 minus 20 and minus 10, that will be 550 employees that actually remain and who will be eligible to take the benefit of the scheme. Each employee, each of these 550 employees will be granted 100 shares, and the fair value of the option at the grant date was 30. So that will be the total value of the share based payment reserve. Now because this is the end of third year, by third year end the total reserve should be created. So the fraction that we are taking over here is 3 by 3, and that works out to 16,50,000. On a cumulative basis, the total amount that you have already created in that reserve is 10,64,000. That is the cumulative balance of year 1 and 2 taken together. So the incremental amount by which you will recognize the employee benefit expenses for the third year, as well as the amount by which the share based payment reserve balance will increase, will be 5,86,000. And then you will pass the similar journal entry, that is employee benefit expenses debit to share based payment reserve, and that will be by 5,86,000. So friends, note down this calculation and accounting entry, and then we shall move ahead and write up the settlement entry as well. Alright friends, you would have finished writing this whole thing. Let us now write up the entry for settlement, and also find out the number of shares that you have issued. So I have already explained you earlier that out of 600 employees, actually 50 employees left. So 550 employees and each one getting 100 shares. In total 55,000 shares will be issued. Now this time you have to be little careful with the settlement entry, because in the earlier question, that is question number 5 that we have solved, the shares were issued without any consideration. Here shares are issued with some consideration. As a result, you will be showing a cash receipt of 55,000 multiplied by rupees 50, that is 55,000 shares, and for each share you have collected rupees 50. So bank account debit by 27,50,000, and then you will make a further debit to the share based payment reserve that you have created on a cumulative basis over 3 years, that is 16,50,000. This was the cumulative amount that you have created. Logically, this amount is 55,000 shares multiplied by 30. So in all you have made a debit of 55,000 shares multiplied by 50 plus 55,000 shares multiplied by 30. So that will be 55,000 shares multiplied by 80 in total, out of which the share capital gets credited by rupees 10 per share, that will be just 5,50,000. So the balance amount, which will be at the rate of 70 per share, is transferred to securities premium. And then finally this entry for the settlement, which includes a cash component also, because in this scenario the shares were not issued without any consideration. The employees were offered these shares at some consideration. The employees had to purchase these shares by paying rupees 50, and the price which is given at the vesting date, that is at the date when the shares were settled, that is rupees 92 per share, will not be considered. Just take precaution of that, not to take that amount at all. So friends, now what is needed is just to write down what you find on screen, and that will be completion of the solution.